I never thought a tattoo could change everything. But there I was, standing in Finn's bathroom at 2 in the morning, trying not to stare at the ink on his hip, while he pointed it out to me like it was the most casual thing in the world. My heart was hammering so hard I was sure he could hear it. This wasn't how I expected my night to go. This wasn't how I expected my entire life to go, if I'm being honest. Let me back up. I met Finn 3 months ago when he transferred to our office. I work in marketing for a tech startup, one of those places with standing desks and cold brew on tap and people who take their sneakers way too seriously. Finn got assigned to the desk across from mine, and I remember thinking he had the kind of face that made you look twice. Sharp jawline, dark hair that always looked slightly messy in that intentional way, and these gray-green eyes that seemed to notice everything. He wore band t-shirts under blazers and had a collection of enamel pins on his messenger bag. He was cool in a way I'd never quite managed to be. We became friends fast. Too fast, maybe. He'd swing by my desk with coffee, the kind I liked without me ever telling him, and we'd end up talking about everything except work. Music, mostly. He played guitar and had opinions about bands I'd never heard of. I'd send him playlists and he'd actually listen to them, send back detailed thoughts on every track. We started getting lunch together every day, then drinks after work on Fridays. He made me laugh in a way that felt effortless, like breathing. I didn't think much of it at first. I'd had close friends before. But then I started noticing things. The way my stomach flipped when I saw his name on my phone, how I'd find myself looking forward to Monday mornings just because I'd get to see him. The way I'd replay our conversations in my head before falling asleep, analyzing every word, every laugh, every moment his hand brushed mine when we reached for the same document. I'd never questioned my sexuality before. I'd dated women in college, had a couple of serious relationships that ended amicably enough. I just figured I hadn't met the right person yet. But Finn made me question everything. Late at night, alone in my apartment, I'd let myself wonder what it would be like to kiss him. Then I'd immediately feel guilty, confused, like I was betraying our friendship by even thinking it. The night everything changed started ordinarily enough. It was a Friday, and a group from work was going to this new bar downtown. Finn texted me asking if I was going. I wasn't planning to. I had laundry to do and emails to catch up on. But the moment I saw his message, I found myself typing, yes. That should have been my first clue. I was rearranging my entire evening just for the possibility of sitting next to him in a crowded bar. The place was loud, packed with people shouting over indie rock that was turned up too high. Our co-workers claimed a corner booth, and I ended up squeezed next to Finn, our thighs pressed together because there wasn't enough room. I was hyper-aware of every point of contact between us. He'd lean over to talk directly into my ear so I could hear him over the music, and I'd feel his breath on my neck and have to remind myself to keep breathing normally. Around midnight, people started heading out, work friends peeling off one by one until it was just me and Finn left. We should have called it a night too, but neither of us suggested it. Instead, we ordered another round and moved to the bar where we could actually hear each other talk. That's when the conversation got deeper. He asked me about my family, really asked. Not just the surface-level stuff. I told him about my parents' divorce when I was 12, how I still felt like I was trying to make both of them happy all the time. He listened in that way he had, fully present, his eyes never leaving my face. Then he started talking about his own family. How he came out when he was 19 and his dad didn't speak to him for 2 years. How he'd learned to build his own family from friends who got it. I felt something shift in my chest when he said that. He was gay. I'd suspected, maybe from little comments he'd made, but hearing him say it directly made everything suddenly very real. All those feelings I'd been pushing down came rushing back up. I must have gotten quiet because he asked if I was okay. I said I was fine, just tired, but he gave me this look like he could see right through me. He suggested we get out of there, get some air. We walked for blocks without any destination, just wandering through the city streets. It was one of those perfect late spring nights where the air is warm but not humid, where everything feels possible. We ended up at his apartment. He lived in one of those converted warehouse buildings with exposed brick and huge windows. His place was exactly what I'd imagined. Vintage furniture mixed with band posters, bookshelves overflowing, a guitar propped in the corner. He put on music, something mellow and instrumental, and we collapsed on his couch with glasses of water because we were both too drunk to drink anymore. We talked for hours. The kind of conversation where you lose track of time completely, where you're saying things you've never said out loud before. He told me about his ex-boyfriend who'd cheated on him, how it made him scared to trust people. I told him about feeling lost lately, like I was going through the motions of a life that didn't quite fit. He said he got that feeling of waiting for your real life to start. At some point, he pulled his shirt up slightly, just on one side, revealing his hip. There was a tattoo there, delicate black line work forming a constellation. He said it was Orion, that his mum used to point it out to him when he was a kid. She died when he was 16. The tattoo was his way of keeping her with him. He was telling me this incredibly personal thing, and I was trying to focus on his words, but I was also very aware that his shirt was still pulled up, that I could see the curve of his hip, the line where his jeans sat low on his waist. He noticed me looking. Of course he did. And instead of pulling his shirt down, he shifted closer. He said I could see it better if I wanted, that I should look close because there was a tiny detail, a single star that was slightly different from the others. I leaned in, my face inches from his skin, and I could smell his cologne mixed with sweat and something else that was just him. I found the star he was talking about, pointed it out with my finger without thinking. My hand was shaking. He said my name. Just my name, but the way he said it made me look up. Our faces were so close. His eyes searched mine, and I felt like he was asking a question without words. Every nerve in my body was screaming. I should pull away. I should laugh it off. I should do anything except what I wanted to do. But I was so tired of fighting it, so tired of pretending I didn't feel what I felt. I kissed him. Or maybe he kissed me. Honestly, I don't know who moved first. All I know is that suddenly his lips were on mine, and it felt like everything in my life had been leading to this moment. It wasn't tentative or uncertain. It was desperate and hungry and absolutely right. His hand came up to cup the back of my neck, and I made this sound, almost a gasp, and he pulled back for just a second to look at me, to make sure this was okay. I answered by kissing him again, harder this time. We moved to his bedroom, a tangle of limbs and shed clothing and whispered words. I'd never been with a man before, but it didn't feel new. It felt like coming home. Afterward, we lay in his bed, my head on his chest, his fingers tracing patterns on my shoulder. I waited for the panic to set in, for the voice in my head to start questioning everything, but it never came. I just felt peaceful, happy. Like I'd finally figured out something I'd been trying to solve my entire life. He asked if I was okay. I said I was more than okay. He said he'd been wanting to do that since the day we met, but he didn't want to assume, didn't want to risk our friendship. I admitted I'd been feeling the same way, but I didn't know how to make sense of it. He said feelings don't always make sense. They just are. That I didn't have to have everything figured out right now. We fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other. I woke up a few hours later, early morning light filtering through his windows. For a moment, I felt disoriented. Then I remembered where I was and why. I looked at Finn sleeping next to me, his face relaxed and peaceful, and I felt this overwhelming rush of affection. This was real. This was happening. I was falling in love with a man, and instead of being terrified, I felt free. He stirred, opened his eyes, and smiled at me. Asked if I wanted coffee. We got up and he made coffee in his tiny kitchen while I sat on the counter in his borrowed t-shirt. It felt domestic and comfortable, like we'd been doing this for years instead of hours. We didn't talk about what this meant, what we were now. We just existed in the moment, drinking coffee and talking about nothing important. Eventually, I had to go home, change clothes, face the real world. At his door, he kissed me goodbye, soft and sweet. He said he'd see me Monday at work. I walked home in the early morning sunlight, feeling like the city looked different, like I was seeing it with new eyes. Everything felt sharper, more vibrant. I was terrified and exhilarated in equal measure. The weekend was strange. I kept picking up my phone to text him, then putting it down, not sure what to say. He must have felt the same way because my phone stayed quiet. I spent a lot of time thinking, processing. I researched things I'd never let myself look up before, read articles about sexuality being fluid, about coming out later in life. I called my best friend from college, someone I trusted completely, and told her everything. She said she wasn't surprised, that she'd always wondered. She said what mattered was that I was happy. Monday morning, I was a nervous wreck. I got to the office early and sat at my desk pretending to work, watching the door. When Finn walked in, our eyes met across the room and he smiled. Not a knowing smile or a secretive one, just his regular smile. He stopped by my desk with coffee, the kind I liked, and asked about my weekend like nothing had changed, except everything had changed. When he handed me the coffee, his fingers brushed mine and lingered for just a second longer than necessary. We fell into a pattern. At work, we were friends, colleagues, the same as we'd always been, but after work, we were something else. We'd go to his place or mine, order takeout, watch movies, talk for hours, and we'd kiss, touch, learn each other. It felt like a secret world that existed parallel to our regular lives. I wasn't ready to tell anyone yet, wasn't ready to define what we were. He said that was okay, that we could take it slow, but it wasn't sustainable. 2 weeks in, one of our co-workers asked if I was seeing anyone. I said no, automatically, and felt Finn's eyes on me from across the room. That night at his place, he asked if I was ashamed of us. I said no, never, I just needed time. He said he understood, but I could tell I'd hurt him. I'd been so focused on my own confusion that I hadn't considered how it felt for him to be someone's secret. We had our first real fight that night. He said he'd done the closet thing before, that he couldn't do it again. I said I wasn't in the closet, I was just figuring things out. He said that was fair, but he needed to know this was going somewhere, that I wasn't just experimenting. That word stung. I told him this was real for me, that he was real for me, but I needed to process this at my own pace. He said he'd wait, but he couldn't wait forever. We didn't talk for 3 days. They were the worst 3 days I could remember. I missed him constantly, physically ached from missing him. I'd reach for my phone 100 times a day and stop myself. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Work was miserable, sitting across from his empty desk because he'd called in sick. I knew I was being an idiot. I knew what I wanted. I was just scared of what it meant. On the 4th day, I went to his apartment. He opened the door looking tired, surprised to see me. I said I was sorry, that I'd been scared and selfish and I didn't want to lose him, that I didn't have everything figured out, but I knew I wanted him in my life, publicly, really, that I was ready to tell people, to be honest about us. He pulled me inside and kissed me and said that was all he needed to hear. We took it slow, like we'd promised. First, I told my best friend officially, then my sister. They were both supportive, asked questions but didn't push. Then we told our close friends at work, separately at first, then together. Most people were cool about it. A few were weird, but that said more about them than us. My parents were harder. My mom cried but said she just wanted me to be happy. My dad needed more time, but he's coming around. The thing is, I spent so long thinking I had myself figured out. I dated women because that's what I thought I was supposed to do. I never let myself consider alternatives. Meeting Finn didn't change who I was. It just helped me see myself clearly for the first time. I'm still the same person. I just understand myself better now. It's been 6 months since that night in his apartment. We're together, really together. We go on dates, hold hands in public, argue about whose turn it is to do dishes. It's normal and domestic and sometimes boring in the best possible way. My friends joke that we're sickeningly cute. We probably are. Sometimes I think about that tattoo on his hip, how he made sure I looked close. I wonder if he knew what he was doing, if he was giving me permission to want him. He says he was just showing me something that mattered to him, but he smiles when he says it, that knowing smile that makes me think he's not telling the whole truth. Either way, I'm grateful. Grateful he was patient with me. Grateful he saw something in me I couldn't see in myself yet. I don't know what the future holds. We talk about moving in together, about what comes next, but I'm learning not to plan everything to death, to just let things unfold. For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, with exactly who I'm supposed to be with, and it all started with a tattoo and the courage to look close.